You're listening to Brink Radio.
What's happening, everybody? Of course, it's your host, Brink Young, coming straight out of them South Memphis slums, the pinky and the thumb. You are listening to Brink Radio right here on 96.3 FM, talking about bumping 96.3 because you know Brink put the B in bumping, right? Of course you do. Look, we got a super special guest on tonight's show. Hey, it's not that often that we feature producers / artists, but now we got a producer / artist. Hey, she on her Kanye bag. She on her Missy Elliott bag. She on her Timberland swag. She's doing all of the above. We're talking about none other than Cymphani Cyrine. How you doing?
What up, what up?
First and foremost, I got to say thank you.
That was an amazing introduction.
I had to do it like that. Like I say, man, if y'all don't already know, this is family right here. You know, we established the family probably like, what was that, 2021, fall of 2021 when I first got to Atlanta. Now, I'm going to go ahead and tell an interesting story about that. You know I got to. I got to. Now, what's crazy about this meeting, it was actually through Pharaoh, artist that she works with. She's produced with them. Can I say the personal part? I mean, they together. We just put it like that. And, she's also managing. Sometimes, every now and then, But I was actually in Atlanta, I just moved there. And I had an interview with Pharaoh on BrinkTV. Now, I'm going to be honest with y'all. I was super, super scared when I first got to Atlanta. I was nervous because BrinkTV, that's something I've been doing in Memphis for a very long time. But getting to Atlanta, man, this is a whole new ball game. This is a bigger city, bigger names, bigger competition, so to speak. And I just got there, small town Memphis. I was just trying to get out there and get my feet wet. I was nervous. I was, wasn't sure about even if this thing would work. You know what I'm saying? Like,
definitely know that feeling.
Exactly. And then I get contacted by you guys about doing the interview, and I'm like, wow. You know what I'm saying? Like, people here in Atlanta, because at the time I didn't know, Pharaoh's from Memphis. I didn't know any of that. And like, I'm like, wow, people are really, responding to it. Bet. Let's work. You guys pull up to the studio. Y'all probably didn't know it. I'm super nervous because I'm like, okay, this is one of my first jumps here. I got to make sure this doesn't work. I'm nervous. And Pharaoh up with you smoke? Now, I'm going to keep it 100. I smoked a lot when I was younger. I smoked a lot, but I stopped in 2006 and I didn't smoke again until 2018 in Atlanta by chance. And from 2018, I didn't smoke at all until that very moment where we were in the studio. And I was like, you know what? Yeah, I smoke. And so me and Pharaoh, we puffing, we passing. And I get the cough in my lungs out. And I'm like, oh, my God, I should have did this before the interview. How am I going to be able to do this interview? This man got me coughing. My eyes red like watering. That was some good loud, though. But and I remember you saying, you was like, Pharaoh, you probably shouldn't have gave him that. He said he really don't smoke like that. And I just was like, bruh, I done played myself in front of these people. But I got my lungs together and I hit it again and I was like, I bet we good. And that moment helped like relax me. It calmed me so much. And to me, there was, and I don't really do signs, but that was a sign that, hey, these some good people. And we kind of just bonded from there. And we've been bonded for life. So I just had to give y'all this story on how they became family. You know what I'm saying? And hey, we've been locked in ever since,
It's the mob.
Yeah, hey, look, we, you know what I'm saying? I ain't finna talk about what be going on, but people end up in trunks. Nah, I'm kidding. But like I said, let's go ahead and get into this interview. We got much to talk about. You got a brand new album. We talking about Cymphkonda, but on Brink Radio, we like to talk about the origin story. We like to talk about the backstory. So let's talk about where you from.
Well, I'm originally from East St. Louis, Illinois.
Okay. East St. Louis.
Yeah.
Now, I got to ask you because East St. Louis is right next to St. Louis, but it's technically Illinois. Is that like one of them things like how West Memphis is called West Memphis, but it's like, in Arkansas? How it work?
I took Pharaoh to my hometown like a couple weeks ago, and I was showing him that you can literally look out the window and see the arch.
Wow.
Yes, like it's right there.
Wow.
But I think what happened is the river, the Mississippi River, it separates the two.
Okay.
So like it's like East St. Louis, and then you start going into all these other, areas like you got Belleville, O'Fallon. I don't really, you know what I'm saying, get down in East St. Louis like that too much. I just had to give them a tour around the city. But like when I visit home, I'm mostly like, you know, on the outskirts.
I got you. I definitely got to keep it moving. Shout out to everybody out there in East St. Louis, Illinois. You know, of course, the S is silent on the end.
Home of Jackie Joyner Kersey, Darius Miles.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Hey, if y'all know, y'all know. Hey, definitely.
Ike and Tina used to be up in there, you know. But yeah, that's the little bit of knowledge I got from back there.
Okay, that was up. So let's talk about like growing up in East St. Louis. You know, what was it like for you?
I mean, I was really quiet, like to myself. I really ain't deal with too many people. Like I'm an only child, so I always just kind of stay to myself. Yeah. And just with my music, like I started writing poetry when I was like 8 years old because my cousin, he's a rapper. So like he would always like come up to me like with his notebooks like, hey, read this and I'm gonna, he was like, read this and I'm gonna rap it to you. Okay. So I'd be holding his notebook and he'd be rapping like super fast. Yeah. He'd be like, and I'd be like, where you at? So I just remember like a moment where I was like, hey, I'm gonna start writing. Yeah. So I started writing like poems and like little raps when I was like 8 years old. Before I started playing the piano. Okay. And like I said, I used to just kind of be to myself and be with my grandma. I slept in the bed with my grandma for a long time because she let me do it. I got you. I got you. But yeah, it was chill. It was laid back.
So it's a few things I want to unpack from that. Like you say you used to write raps. What was you rapping about at 8 years old, man?
I don't even remember. Okay. I just know like I wanted to be like my cousin. Like he was rapping, he was doing his thing, and I just wanted to be like him. So shout out to Boosie, you know what I'm saying?
No doubt. Definitely shout out to the family, man. So you mentioned being the only child, like, you know, the typical only child thing is that you're super spoiled. Is that true?
I don't know. I don't even know what that look.
Pharaoh in the background, like, yeah.
What does spoiled mean? Like, when I hear spoiled, I think about little kids throwing tantrums in the grocery store. Okay. Like, I don't do that. Like, I got my little butt whooped. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was disciplined and just like quiet. Yeah. Like, and it really, I'm an only child, but I grew up in the house with cousins. Like my cousin who was a rapper, he's 10 years older than me. Okay. So it was like having a big brother because he used to come and put me in like wrestling move headlocks.
It made you strong though. Yeah, man. Hey, don't try it. You know, understand me? Don't try. Pull up. Hey, she got them. Yeah, she gonna make it happen.
See my pants?
Yeah, I know, right? So let's go ahead and talk about you mentioned, you know, learning to play the piano as a child. Like, you know, was it lessons or were you self-taught or what?
Originally it started off as lessons. Like what happened, or not lessons, but self-taught. What happened was I remember that my dad had a drum set. Like, this is just my recollection. He had a drum set. So I went home and I pulled the legs off my table, and I just got beaten. And then my mom was like, nah. And she just gave me like one of those little toy keyboards. Here, try this. And I started trying to mimic what I was hearing, like through like just listening to music growing up. Okay. But when I was like, I think I was about 10 or 11, her friends' kids was going to piano lessons, and they showed me how to like play Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. Okay. And then I just kind of went crazy from there, and that's just how it all. I was self-taught for a very long time until I was going to college, and they started making me read music.
So what's funny about that is they taught you how to play Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. Did you learn how to play A, B, C, D, E, F, G?
Yes.
It's the same thing.
Yeah, and I started like when I was like 15, I used to live in these apartments in Swansea, Illinois, and I used to take my keyboard outside and I would remix like different nursery rhymes. So like one of them was like London Bridge is falling down, but it sounded really dark. Okay. Like it didn't sound like the original London Bridge. It sounded like dun dun dun, and then I would just be out there playing it, and then people would be like freestyling, and I would be like just playing like Nook If You Book. That was a popular song back then. Yeah. Just whatever was on the radio, like I would just be playing it.
So let's talk about, you know, you said around age 15, you know, you started making beats. Like, who were some of the producers that you were like looking up to at that time? You know, because that's one thing that I noticed, that a lot of times producers really don't get the shine that they really should. Outside of people like Jermaine Dupri, you know, Dr. Dre, you know what I'm saying? Right. Timbaland, Missy, you know.
Man, like I a lot of my family and even myself was in California for a little bit. So West Coast music, Dr. Dre, like, of course, that was my first favorite producer. And then Dr. Dre, Timbaland, he's like, he definitely in the top 5. Kanye, he's one of my favorites. He's actually like my number one, like Kanye, like all day. I'm all with the Kanye.
Man.
There's a producer who did the soundtrack for an anime. His name is Nujabes or Nuhubes. I don't know how to really pronounce it, but he's like dope. He did like a whole anime soundtrack. So him and then RZA.
Yeah, oh man, RZA. It's serious. That's definitely serious.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out to the Wu-Tang Clan, man. I actually met Ghostface Killer in Atlanta, at 836.
Was it intense? Because he seems intense.
Man, he was real cool, like laid back. And just by chance, I had his shirt on. Like, I had bought a Ghostface Killer shirt from Macy's, of all places.
Wow.
And I saw him, and I was like, bro, it's you. And then I looked at my shirt and I was like, it's you. He's like, ooh, that's nice. That's nice. I like that. I like this. So I, approached him about getting a picture and all that. He was real chill, And it's dope, man. Just being able to see them and, you know what I'm saying, see them perform and all that type of stuff is dope. So one thing that, we was talking about off the air, you actually used to rap in high school, though.
Man.
We got to talk about that. Man, what's happening?
Oh, man. It wasn't like that. It was like, okay, so we had this notebook and we would like pass it around.
Okay.
So like it was like a composition notebook or whatever. So like we would write raps. I write a rap, then I pass it off to my homegirl. She'll write a rap. Then somebody else write one. And it got around the school and like I actually wrote something that was kind of like mean about another person.
So you was writing diss records.
Man, like her hair was stanky. But anyway, so like I wrote, we were just passing around the notebook, but like we had those when we would sneak out the lunchroom on lunch break and we'd be in the car like freestyling and stuff like that. Yeah. It's not a career for me. Okay. I don't, I'm not a rapper, I rap a lot of y'all, but I'm not a rapper. Yeah. But I prefer to be like, behind the scenes and just producing.
Okay. So, of course, we got to talk about the first album that you released. We're talking about The Beautiful Accident. Of course, it's available right now. All digital streaming platforms. Y'all make sure y'all tap in. I listen to it on Apple Music, so I don't know if y'all got Apple Music, but you know what I'm saying? Do what you got to do. Let's talk about that album, though.
Yeah, so The Beautiful Accident came out in 2012.
Okay.
It came about because, like, when I was in college, like, I learned how to like compose on a computer. That's when I first started learning all of that. And I, like when you first become a producer, like your first mental thought is like, I'm about to go and work with some artists or whatever. So I was making beats like a lot. Like shout out to Michael Johnson. He taught me how to use Fruity Loops. You know what I'm saying? I was making beats or whatever. And then I just couldn't find like a serious artist who would be on my music. So after like my first couple years of college, I was on my way to Atlanta, and then before I left, I remember telling my mentor, like, hey, I'm about to start producing electronic music. And he was like, you sure you want to do that? And I was like, I don't know. I was like, I'm going to give it a try. I was like, I like the music. I mess with it. So moved to Atlanta and just start working on my album. And like the reason why it's called The Beautiful Accident is because like every song on there, it was like literally an accident. Okay. Like I would just be chilling and I just start messing with a beat and just, go with the flow of however it was. And it just came out. Like, I think it's about 15 tracks on there. And then it took me about a year or two to create. But the goal of that album was to be on Pandora. Okay. I was like, I want my music to be on Pandora because when I listen to Pandora, another song would come on and I'd be like, what's this? So, like, that was my whole goal. Like, I just want to get this album on Pandora. And, like, it all started from there.
So, with you being so versed, like in so many different genres, what would you say are some of your favorite genres to produce? Because you can dang near do it all. Like, what are some of your favorites?
I love producing rock music. Okay. Because I love guitars and like how I have like a rock album too called Dungeons and Dragons. Okay. It's also, you can find it on symphonymusic.com. But rock, lately, I kind of been on some like reggae trap type stuff. Okay, reggae trap. Hey, that's a new one. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, it just comes out of nowhere. Like, I don't sit down and be like, I'm about to make this today. Like, whatever kind of comes out just comes out. But like the benefit of working with an artist is like if I'm making something and he hears something like in his head, he like that kind of sound like this, and then me just start to automatically like build around, you know, what he's hearing.
Yeah.
So it's like if I'm making something, like I made probably like 10 reggae trap beats in the last couple months. Like
I gotta hear them.
but like of course rock that, and then I love to make R&B.
Okay.
Like I love making just like R&B music, and then I have like my own genre that I call futuristic soul. So like futuristic soul is like what you hear like when you hear an original Cymphani Cyrine beat, like something like if you're listening to The Beautiful Accident, it's probably be like the track called Fantasy.
Okay.
You know, stuff like that. So those are it's kind of like an electronic R&B type of pop style.
Okay.
Like that's my original coin sound.
Okay, so of course we got to talk more about production. You know, do you ever feel like, because you did mention moving to Atlanta, do you ever feel like your environment maybe influences your sound at all?
Yeah, definitely. Okay. Like Atlanta, I can't really. By the time I got to Atlanta, I was already halfway through producing.
Yeah,
like because I ended up going to Atlanta because of school.
Okay.
And like my aunt, she moved out there when we were real young. She went out there for her who she was with at the time. And so I would be in between East St. Louis and Atlanta.
Okay.
All the way like on and off throughout my school year. But I don't know. I can't really say if Atlanta had like a huge influence on my music, but I do know that Memphis did.
Yeah.
Because like when I moved to Memphis, like right before I moved to Memphis, like Pharaoh came up to me like, "Hey, I'm finna make an album called Memphis," and and in my head, like every time I get ready to produce something, I'm always so nervous because I'm like, when I first met him, I'm like, I've never produced a whole album for another person. Like, how am I supposed to do this? But you know, it would just come out so smooth. But when he told me he was finna produce an album called Memphis, like he actually took me to Memphis, like to his hometown, and I was able to be in the environment, and I just start to study like 3 6 Mafia and you know, 8-Ball MJG and like all these. I was already listening to them, but I never had really like studied the music. But the plus is we don't rush our music, so by the time the Memphis album came out, I had a good 12 tracks on there.
Yeah.
All like Memphis symphony sounding. So
I gotta ask you, like, your beat making process, like, how would you describe that? You know, like, what, I mean, because I know music is art and you gotta definitely be in the mood to make it. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't just, you know, just wake up in the morning, just start tapping on, you know, because you using what, FL Studio now?
I use Logic Pro now.
Okay, Logic. Yeah. Okay. So what is your beat making process like?
Well, for me, I don't make beats every day. I know a lot of people be like, I make 5 beats a day, and then I'm like, I'm not even gonna lie, like I would love to do that, but I am very picky. I'm that type of person who I gotta feel it. Okay. Like if I don't feel it, I gotta come back to it. You know what I'm saying? But when I get into that zone, like when I actually feel it, I'm like, okay, this the one. So I end up focusing on that one if I go through like a couple beats. But basically I just, you know, go in the studio, hit up Logic Pro. I got this little keyboard that's next to me, and I just kind of start, you know, messing around, seeing if I can come up with like a melody. I always start with melody first.
I was going to ask you that.
I start with melody first. I'll say 98% of the time I start with a melody.
Yeah.
And then I'll just start building from there. After I get that perfect melody, I'll probably go into the drums.
Yeah.
And then I might go into the strings or whatever else. But it's all based off of what I'm feeling at the moment.
And all this is from scratch?
All of it is from scratch.
No loops. No samples. That's what's up, man. I love it. You know, and I just want to dive into that a little bit more because, you know, I got a little bit of background in that, and I'm with you, you know, as far as starting with the melody, as far as the, you know, sounds instead of the kicks and, you know, all of that. Like, as soon as I do a melody, first thing I do after that is probably I add the hi-hats to it. That's just me. I don't know. How you do yours?
I do a melody, and if I don't hear something after that, then I'll be like, let me add these claps.
Okay.
Like,
Yeah.
And then, you know, I just kind of go off of that. But, I mean, there are some times when, like, a song that I grew up listening to will inspire me. I won't necessarily go in and sample it, but I might hear that riff, You know what I'm saying? Like I have one of my beats was highly inspired by Stevie Wonder.
Okay.
I got another beat that was inspired by the Osley Brothers. You know what I'm saying? I got beats that was inspired by different things, and sometimes I'll just take that melody and I'll just kind of redo it to where like you kind of, when you hear it, you'll be like, this remind me of something, but it's not like a repeating sample in it.
Right.
But full disclosure, I do not have anything against producers that sample. I don't want nobody to come jump me.
Yeah.
This is just how I choose to do my music.
I feel you. And that was one thing that I started out with, messing with samples. I think I was on FL Studio 4, like this, just to go to show you how long ago it was.
I started off on FL 9.
Okay.
But by the time I switched over, which it wasn't completely my choice, I just was having an issue with my laptop at the time, and the college that I went to was giving out free MacBooks.
Okay.
So
hey,
I was like, okay, well, and it took me probably like a day to learn how to use it.
Let me ask you this, like, do you prefer software or hardware? Because I remember you said you started out on keyboard, eventually evolve into software, FL Studio, Logic Pro, and all of that. Which one do you prefer?
It depends. Like, I be on my iPad making beats with no software.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
like I just got Logic Pro on my laptop.
Yeah,
or not my laptop, but my iPad.
Okay.
But to get, like, if I don't have anything in my head and I just go in and I start sitting down at the piano, the plus about knowing how to do both is I can take what I'm playing and I don't have to play it into there.
Right.
Because it's a lot of splicing and different things that goes into it. But I can literally just take what I did and I can just kind of draw it out like as if I was writing music.
That's incredible. So, we got to talk about Cymphkonda, the brand new album. It's everywhere. Y'all tap in and get that. Today, like right now, like this very moment. Let's talk about it. So what prompted you to drop this album?
So on my birthday last year, Pharaoh took me to Nashville.
Okay.
Like, let's go to Nashville. Let's chill. Let's, switch up the scenery. I didn't know he was taking me to the movies.
Okay.
But it wasn't just any movie. It was like in the theater, they got it to where like whatever happening in the movie, like your seats will like shake.
Really?
Like, so if it was like a lot of stuff, like say for instance, if somebody jumped like when Killmonger jumped on a thing, you'll feel it. And if there's water, you'll feel the water.
Really?
Yes, it was crazy. I think it's called 4DX.
Wow.
Yes, it was crazy. I had never been to a movie like that.
So I got to go to Nashville, what you saying. I got to go check that out.
I'm still trying to get back. Like if it's a 3D movie that's about to come out, you definitely have to do it in 4DX. Like you will not regret it.
Okay.
But we did that, and the soundtrack is very, very alluring. Like even if you're not purposely like trying to listen to it, you know what I'm saying? Like you're gonna catch some type of inspiration for it. Even the first soundtrack, you're gonna catch some type of inspiration for it. So after the trip, went back home and I just sat down, let me make some beats. You know what I'm saying? And in this little like kind of like little reggae sounding type, like little Wakanda sounding. I was like, kind of high. And then, so I'm playing it and I get through the whole beat of it and I was like, you know what? I'm finna make an album called Cymphkonda.
There you go.
That was 2022 December.
Okay.
It wasn't easy. It took me some time to compose some tracks because that's not my original genre. Like that's so like I definitely watched both movies a couple of times and listened to a bunch of reggaeton and, Latino music. I love that type of music as well.
Yeah.
And then that's just what you get.
So it's also a book, right?
Yeah. So what I did is I took every track on the album. Every track on the album has its own chapter. Okay. Book chapter. So you can go on my website and when you click on Cymphkonda, it'll like open up like a little booklet and then you can click through chapter 1, chapter 2. It's really not that many pages. I'm going to say it's probably 15 pages because it's 15 songs.
Right.
But yeah, like I wrote, it's like Cymphkonda is like my place. Like as if I created it from my imagination of what I feel like if I created like an island or a place like what it would be. And then is ruled by Queens of Pharaoh. You know what I'm saying? And there comes, like, there's this battle. And then it just kind of, ends. Like
we in the metaverse with it. I love it. So it's available right now. Let's talk about Babe, though. What's up with Babe? Man?
Yeah, so, like, Babe came because I was producing the album and I made this, was making a beat and it started off one way. And by the time I got to the next part, I was like, this really don't go with that. So it's pretty much 3 different beats in one beat. So Babe stands for big, epic beat.
Okay.
Right. So that's where that came from, because it's like 3 beats in one.
And of course, y'all can tap in with that on the BrinkTV talk show. You know, it's spinning. You understand me? It's on there. You know what I'm saying? So let's go ahead and change the flow of traffic just a tad bit, because you actually working on becoming, I ain't gonna say becoming a DJ, but you're learning how to DJ.
Yeah, like it's something that I've always wanted to do. Like I've always been interested in it. I would always joke about like, hey, DJ CC.
Yeah.
When I was in Colorado, I met a lot of DJs, and some of them would let me get up there and play with their board a little bit. And it's just something that I wanna pursue. And the funny thing is, like, not long ago, we was in the Goodwill. We do be at the Goodwill. We be chilling. You can get a bunch of stuff from the Goodwill. But anyway, we was in the Goodwill, and there was literally like a little controller for $8, bro.
Wow.
And I'm looking at it, and I'm like, is this a toy? And I'm like, you could plug it into your computer.
Yeah.
So like, I just been messing with it, and I'm upgrade, but like, I like it because like it was $8 and it came from the Goodwill, and I like to build my studio with like all this unique stuff.
Right.
But like, I'm gonna eventually get like a big one, but I didn't want to like start off with like a $500 controller, and I don't know what I'm doing.
Right.
So.
And I love that, because that's what adds to the story. Like, you know, for someone to come into your studio and you can tell them a story about each and every piece, you know, how you got it, where you got it from, what music you made with it. You know, that's what it's all about.
We actually got a keyboard, a little toy keyboard. It actually looks like a big keyboard. Yeah. But that came from the Goodwill too. Like, and I told Pharaoh, I do not like going to the Goodwill, because every time we go in there, we're like, what's this?
I'm buying everything, I promise. Yeah, hey, but look, we will be back. We got more to talk about. Don't move. Stay tuned. And of course, we back. We're talking about Brink Radio right here on 96.3 FM. Brink Young coming straight out of them South Memphis slums, Pinky and the Thumb. We got Cymphani Cyrine in the building. She's talking about Cymphkonda. She's talking about the brand new album available on all platforms everywhere. You can get it right now. You just got to type it in, you know, type it in, tap it in, and you going to have that album. But let's go ahead and talk more about you, you know, because I mean, you're a female producer, you're a female manager, you're a female artist, basically. Let's talk about some of the challenges that you face in this industry, because it's male dominated. Sometimes you might just want to talk business with people. You might just want to be in the studio with them producing an album or producing a song or selling beats or networking. And then sometimes, guys, we want to do other things. Let's talk about some of the challenges you face.
Man, like, yeah, of course, you know, there's that challenge. I'm sure like every female goes through that. But number one, you know, you can't pay for beats with that. Yeah. So
the penis.
You can't. We don't do that.
We don't accept that. We accept Cash App and Zelle and Venmo, not penis.
But I feel like I have, like, so what I started to do is, because like when I used to contact people about, you know, different things, like even, you know, interviews or whatever like that, for a long time, it started to be about like me promoting my music with other artists. Okay. So like releasing an album, or, you know, whether it be with Pharaoh or like the other artists that I've worked with in the past, like I just come to people like a manager. I'd be like, hey, this is, you know, my artist, I'm trying to get them. And I find that most of the time people kind of take me a little bit seriously coming from that perspective, because I'm not like coming to them like, hey, I made this beat, whatever, can you play my song? So I kind of started doing that. But when I first started like going out into the world, like as a producer, of course it was all types of stuff like that. But it's just like a lot of people don't want to take you seriously, like as a female producer. Like a lot of people have said, oh, dang, that beat dope for a girl. Or like, you know, just different stuff like that. And I'm like, that has nothing to do with anything. Right. But one thing that kind of like makes people like switch courses with me is like I'm very educated about like the music business, and I offer consultations, and I teach, you know, different things about the music business. So of course they might come in with that that dominance or whatever. But then I've sat in rooms with like CEOs and different people that they don't even know what they talking about. It's like I can kind of switch it off like, okay, look, this is how it's going to be. You know?
All right. So with you being so, versed in this music industry, like, do you ever find it difficult, connecting with artists? Because a lot of them, they don't have their business right, because you about, you trying to make sure you got their publishing and all that type of stuff. And then so you go to sell a beat to somebody and they ain't got none of it. I mean, they're not registered with nobody. So you're trying to make back end money as well, not just the upfront,
Right.
money.
I mean, and it can be done a couple of different ways. Like I definitely try to educate artists on how we can do it. I have contracts, and I'm very like open to like, hey, if you're not registered, here are some options or different things like that. If they want to buy the beat up with no back end, you know what I'm saying, you're just gonna have to give me about 10 racks and call it a day. But I mean, I do try to help artists with that aspect, and I'm very happy that like over the years I've been able to, like, artists hit me up like, oh my God, thank you, because now I'm making money off my music and just different stuff like that. So I have no problem, teaching the information. It's just like a lot of artists don't want to receive it because what they see in the mainstream, they have like a false, kind of, they don't really understand what they're seeing.
It's a big misconception.
Like they don't understand it. And it's like, you see, Jay-Z doing this and Beyonce doing that and this person doing that, but they don't really understand how that kind of happens and how you get from point A to point, B.
It's a lot of background that goes on. Let's talk more about Symphony Music Productions, because it's not just you making beats. Like, it's a whole umbrella. You provide a lot of services. Let's dive more into that.
Yeah, so of course it started off with the beats, music production, but I also offer music marketing. Basically, like, I consult artists about like what you can do to make your career just stand out a little bit more. Like, not saying that any artist is better than any other artist. It's just like, what are you doing to put yourself in front of those people? So I help consult artists with that, give them different ideas. Of course, I've sponsored a couple of award shows. Like, I'll give them a beat or a marketing package to, give to like a winner of like a like a showcase, different things like that. But it's all about just helping, the indie artist community. Because, like, I understand, like, I feel like it's better off, like, working with someone who understands, like, where you coming from point A to point B, instead of, like, meeting some random, like, and they just gonna take your money.
Correct.
Like, I'm very, very close to this. You know what I mean? Because I work with an artist and I see what he has to go through. I see what we have to go through in this business, and we've invested a lot of money into this business.
Right.
A lot of it went to good places. Some of it didn't go to very good places, but we wouldn't have known if we wouldn't have put ourselves out there. So what I like to do is kind of try to keep artists from wasting their money with certain things, and I try to be like, listen, man, this is a better choice than this. Like, just experience.
And I just hope that the artists know, and really listen, that when you trying to keep them from doing, things that may not benefit them or may not be beneficial, that know that she's not hating. Like, it's not hating. A lot of stuff comes from trial and error. Like, so if I've been somewhere, if you've been somewhere and you didn't receive the results you were looking for, or it was just a bad deal. Sometimes, man, it's a lot of snakes out here, and they'll just take your money. You ain't finna see nothing else. So if you are having a consultation with somebody, you'll let them know that and be like, look, I ain't hating. I'm just letting you know we work with these people. And, hey,
a lot of my consultations are based off of general business information. Okay. So what music company are you registered with, as far as like, are you registered with BMI? Are you registered with ASCAP? Right. We'll get into, is your name trademark? Right. We'll get into like general information. And then I'll also be like, now listen, if you don't want to do all this stuff yourself, I can help you, but there's going to be, a different fee. But I'm pretty much just, helping them understand the basics of it, like getting the royalties from your song, what companies you need to register your music with, how do you get on the Billboard charts, like how do you, how all of that stuff is, done, instead of just putting out your music and expecting it to go somewhere. Like, you can put out 1 million songs. If you register your music, you might not go viral today.
Right.
But if you keep releasing music, if you keep promoting your music after you do that initial paperwork, you could wake up like, oh, dang, I got like 1 million views and I'm actually going to start getting paid now, as opposed to not doing it.
Right. You definitely want to do that, stay on top of that. So let's go ahead, change the flow of traffic, man. Brink Radio, like I say, it's all about realism. It's all about, telling your story. One thing that I know about you guys, this is something you guys have told me off camera. When we first met, you guys were actually homeless, but still pursuing your dreams. Let's dive into that.
We was living in a hotel room. I'm not gonna say we was broke.
Okay.
We was just living in a hotel room. We got.
Because reality, man, sometimes it's paycheck to paycheck.
Right,
and that's reality.
And that hotel room will take all of your money. Like, I'm talking about $500 a week.
Yep.
So like, if you're paying like rent and your rent is $500 a month, like, just imagine coming up with $500 a week to pay that. But being that, like, I'm very thankful for, like, Pharaoh. He's amazing at budgeting. So, like, I'm talking about this man. Don't tell him I told y'all this. But we'll be in the grocery store, and he has, like, everything written down, and he already has how much it's going to be when we leave the store. Yeah. So he'll be like, yeah, so we're going to end up spending $147, and then we leave in the store, it's like $145.
Right.
Like, he has that. So when we were in those times, like, he already has everything, like, planned out, like, this is what we need to do. So he made it a lot easier, and then I would come like, hey, look, I know this going on, but I'm trying to get you this Brink Radio interview, so this going to cost this much, and he'd be like, all right, cool, we can go ahead and do that. So he definitely made it easier, but, like, I don't feel like I could have made it through those times without having a purpose. Being able to make music, being able to, like, go around, post flyers, do those different things like that, because, like, that's my purpose. That's my passion.
Right.
Like, I can't just be sitting in the hotel room just, like, crying, not doing nothing. You're not going to get nowhere doing that. And it was hard. Like, I'm not saying it was easy. It was definitely a difficult situation, but I'm thankful that I'm with someone who I was able to make it through with, and not somebody who's just, like, sitting around, like, complaining and just...
And it's definitely, like I said, man, it's all about real life. It's all about transparency, especially with me and my platform, stuff like that. That's what helps motivate people out there, because you never know what people is going through. You never know what people is dealing with. I didn't know that at the time, when we did that interview. I had no idea, just like you guys didn't know that, I just got there and I was terrified. Man, new city, big city.
We had already had you on the radar. Like, I have a book with stuff in it, like what we finna do for this promotion, whatever. But, like, we already had you written down since Memphis. Or whatever. And, of course, we follow you on Instagram, Facebook, and all that. So as soon as you was coming to Atlanta, I was like, oh, bet, we ain't got to drive all the way.
I appreciate that, man. I really do. Because, like I say, stuff like that, that's how we became family. You know what I mean? And to me, it goes beyond just the entertainment and the music. Like I say, when you really connect with people, like, you locked in. I want to talk about because, like, Pharaoh did the show. Recently that was at what was the name of that place? Growlers. Did the show at Growlers. And I stayed the whole time. You know what I mean? Like, not only did I stay the whole time, but I actually paid. To get in there. Now, Brink, relatively known in the city, don't have to pay to go nowhere, but I made sure I did that because I wanted to pay to see one of my favorite artists. That's what it meant to me. It was 2 artists that I paid to see. It was Sauce Poppy and Pharaoh.
Shout out Sauce Poppy.
Exactly. Shout out to my guy, man. But when I believe in people, that's what I do. You know what I'm saying? Could have left anytime, but I was like, bruh, I'm waiting to see Pharaoh perform. And like I say, when you family, that's what you do. You know what I'm saying? Definitely. And that's, like I say, y'all family, we locked in, man. But of course, we got to talk about some more stuff. Like, working with Pharaoh, what is that like? Because, I mean, the brother, like I say, I be seeing the videos. The man is ripped. He take his shirt off. He got muscles on top of muscles. What is working with Pharaoh like?
Oh, my God. It's a journey. Okay. Like, when I first met Pharaoh, I'm going to put it like this.
Okay.
When I first heard his music, I was, like, absolutely blown away. Like, what he talks about, like, I'm a big voice lover. Like, if you can use your voice in a song, like, correctly, you're not just kind of sounding monotone and different things like that. Like, I'm a big sucker for stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, like, when I first heard his song, I just had to just, yo, what's up? I still got the text message. I hit him up on Facebook. Yo, my name is Symphony. I make beats. Whatever. Still got it. And from there, we just started kind of communicating and work together. But when I first seen him perform,
it was over.
Oh my God. Like, this man, look, I don't even know if the video is still public on YouTube, but this man was humping speakers.
Wow.
This man, because he was like in this group called Image, and it was him and another artist, and he puts on a show. You saw like when he performed. Yeah. But it's not a bad situation. He knows how to communicate. He knows how to not only give criticism, but also take criticism. So if I'm telling him like, hey, I think you should do this, like, he's like, okay, let's try it out. Like, he's not one of those, man, like, he listens, and it's easy. Like, I don't really know how else to explain it.
One thing about Pharaoh, like, even though he's from Memphis, he's not the typical Memphian, like, at all. Like, the man is so unique. You know, his sound is unique. His look is unique. That's why I say when I see him, I see a star.
And I'm all about the BS. Like, when we was in Atlanta, because everything that we do, we talk about way before we do it. So he had previously talked about incorporating like costumes and stuff in his show. Yeah. And I surprised him with a Pharaoh costume. Okay. And then that went from the Pharaoh costume, and now you got the hammer pants. Like, whatever he says that he wants, you know that little Facebook meme with that was me. Like, Pharaoh said he want to perform on Space. I'm gonna need you to make that happen. I'm just all about it. Like, his creativity, and then working with him in the studio, even though he still beats a lot. It's fun. It's a good experience.
And like you said, to address the creativity, man, like I say, the videos it's like they get better each time. He had the costume on the inner socket, like he was already that buff, but when he had this, the suit on, I was like, bruh.
Man, and one thing about him is like, it's sky's the limit, because he'll be like, yeah, this video gonna be simple. It's only gonna cost about $200. And I'm like, all right, cool. And then he'll be like, but I need a superhero costume. And I'm like, what? Oh my God. Like, but it's fun. Like, I wouldn't trade it for anything.
And the Hickory Dickory video, man, it's
that
crazy.
Was real fun.
Man, hey, you want some yoga, man? Hey, somebody order some yoga. Like, he's just creative and hilarious. Like, what was it like seeing him in that movie? The movie that came out.
Immortal City Records.
Yeah.
That was crazy because, like, he left. He was gone for a couple of days, or actually, I think he did a turnaround trip, so he was probably gone for about 2 days.
Okay.
But he was like, "Hey, I'm about to go be in this movie. It's a background role," and I'm like, "All right, cool." You know what I'm saying? So the whole time he was doing the movie, I really didn't talk to him that much. And then on his way back, he was like, "Man, I gotta tell you something." And I'm like, "What?" He was like, "You just gonna have to wait." But then he showed me a picture of him and Ronrico, and I was like, "That's Tia boyfriend."
Sister,
and
right.
I was like, "What?" He was like, "Man, whole time this man is like the star of the movie." I'm like, "Oh my God, are you?" And it was just crazy because like that was his first movie, and he had a background role, but he also got a little a little camera time. It was real cool. Like, I'm all for it. Like, I love it,
man. So also, since we're talking about movies, that's a goal of yours as well, to get music placed in movies and television, like, and all of that, right?
My goal, my dream, my everything is like, I just want to be watching a freaking Marvel movie.
Oh, yeah, man. Yeah.
Wakanda 3.
There you go.
Right? And, just hear my music in it. Like, people have told me over the years that my music sounds like it should be in soundtracks and movies.
Facts.
They've told me that it helps them, like, create a story, like, with their music, or they probably just see things, like, in their mind when they listen to it. So
Facts.
That's, like, a big goal of mine, is to get my music in movies. And we actually do have like some of the songs that we've done coming up in some movies that shall be announced, later.
Coming soon, 99, I promise you. But hey, it's about that time for us to go ahead and run all of the social media as well as the website, that way they can tap in, Go ahead.
Definitely. So it's real easy. All you gotta do is go to symphonymusic.com. That's CYMPHANI music.com. You can also put a little ad in front of that and follow that on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram.
Okay.
And Snapchat. I be on Snapchat a lot. So.
Run that website one more again for the peoples. Let them know.
Symphonymusic.com. CYMPHANI music.com. You can also find me on pharaohmusic.com. That's FAYROMUSIC.com.
And tell them where they can find the album Cymphkonda.
Man, Cymphkonda is everywhere. It's October 24th. It's my grandmommy birthday. You know what I'm saying? It's October 24th. You can find it everywhere. And then you can watch that Babe video on the BrinkTV show countdown.
I promise, hey, we up with it. I got to say thank you for being a guest on the show. Like I say, it really means a lot. And, you know, I don't always get to have family on here. So this is more enjoying for me because it's family. And like I say, we just kick it like we kick it. But I got to say thank you again for being a guest on the show. Now back to Brink Radio. Don't move.